My name is Jaslyn.
My name is Osei.
My name is Ayana, and this is our State of the Union.
Our State of the Union.
And this is our State of the Union.
It's important for me to not only focus on what I have personally experienced, but also to understand that my struggles are inherently intertwined with other folks's.
Our rights are being stripped away from us, and they're rights that we should have had as human beings, but they're rights that we had to fight for over the past decades or even longer.
I see as the biggest problem facing our country right now is the disconnect between the voices of the youth and the marginalized communities and who's representing us in our legislature.
We see this a lot in my community, specifically being on a college campus in California. We recently saw former Governor Jerry Brown veto a bill that students worked very hard for called SB 320, and our voices essentially were told that it didn't matter, and with one veto, our hope for access to abortions on our college campuses were gone.
And so I think it's important the ways in which movements have bled together and shown their unity and solidarity, because that power is only greater in numbers.
I would like to see more action on comprehensive sexual health in public schools, and more inclusive sexual health that encompasses all genders, all sexualities, all forms of partnership.
In 2019, I would love to see the passing of a Clean Dream Act. I think it's unfair that we have this sort of roster system where you can stay in this country dependent on certain issues and certain facts, when in reality, young people come here when they don't necessarily have a say-so, and this country is the only life that they've known.
I want the U.S. government to address the intense backlog of processing immigration forms and asylum claims, especially as we're seeing the ways in which our border has been weaponized to ensure that certain people do not have access to resources.
Healthcare also must include abortion access, because abortion is healthcare. So any efforts made by the government to expand healthcare access also has to expand access to abortion care.
I think the one thing that I want government to accomplish in 2019 is to back off of what it's doing right now, to let our communities heal, let our communities grow.
We see young people fighting back in honestly every field. You can find a young person up there on the front lines, sometimes risking their own autonomy, whether that's being arrested or possible backlash from a college campus. It's our bodies that are on the line, because we know that we have to accomplish this important change if we want future generations, even past ours, to get the resources that we all know that we deserve.
Through my campus organizing, I've been able to create safe spaces for people of my community and also other marginalized identities, and just basically reconfirming that we're here and we exist and we have the right to live our lives freely.
So I've gotten involved in student government to make sure that the voices of minority students, specifically for trans students and students of color, Black students specifically, have representation in the student bodies that are forming legislation.
But not just around that, also with the Title IX situation that's going on, and Title IX being, the Title IX protections being threatened, people on campus have been organizing to protect our Title IX protections and protect survivors of sexual assault and interpersonal violence.
So right now that looks like organizing demonstrations and protests that really help raise the issue of sexual violence to folks who may not have been in conversation with this issue before. So this looks like standing with pamphlets, information to hand out, speaking publicly, making public statements, and engaging the community as well to be part of that dialogue.
We have so much power, despite being told every single day that we're powerless. We control our schools, we control universities. If it wasn't for us, they wouldn't be there. And so what I want in 2019 for all young people to realize is that these institutions that take credit for us, that try to put us down, we actually have so much control over them, and it's up to us to change them to make them better.
I want to see our movements inspiring older legislators to say, hey, maybe I've done my piece, maybe I've had my time, let me step back and let the youth truly lead.
I want opportunities for us to actually be young people at the same time, because we shouldn't forget that we are youth who deserve to be happy to celebrate and do the things that young people do.
Ultimately, it's our future. And ultimately, we are the ones that have to live with the decisions that are being made today.
One of the things that's inspired hope in me is seeing Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and her successful campaign, and the fact that even now that she's an elected official, she's still bringing people to the table.
The representation we see now compared to the past is giving me a better sense of hope for the future.
I'm just really excited about the influence women of color will have in our Congress and in our government. We demand
access to safe abortion.
We demand affordable and accessible sexual health resources for all people, regardless of their status.
We demand protection of our Title IX rights against sexual violence.
We demand clean water for Flint.
Justice for Black folk who have been victims of systematic oppression and police brutality in the United States.
We demand dignity for all trans people.
We demand a state free of borders that protects undocumented and migrant peoples.
And we demand a government that values equity over equality.